The Garden Report is powered by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. Celtics practicing again for the second time since learning their opponent for the NBA Finals. Noa Dalzell here from Celtics Blog. And another day, another Kristaps Porzingis update. We didn't actually see him on the floor, but Joe Mazzulla said during his availability here that Porzingis did everything the team did. Now, we don't really know what the team did. Sounds like a relatively light day in general here, but did preview it being a more intense day tomorrow. I don't think we'll hear from the Celtics tomorrow, so within a couple of days here, should have a better idea of how Porzingis is going to respond to more strenuous, more full live action contact, those type of things here that will ultimately decide whether he can go in game one.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he's been ramping up these last few days. And obviously, like, it's different than playing contact playoff basketball, but you know, everybody's talking about him like not as an if he comes back, everybody's talking about it like when he comes back, this is how he can help us. I think we heard from both Derek White and Jason Tatum today, and they both seem to give that impression. And then yeah, we didn't see him at all out there, whereas yesterday we saw him shooting around. But that's the, you know, every time we've asked Joe about how is Porzingis doing, any update, he said I haven't seen him, no update. He's been kind of playing it really, you know, keeping his cards close to his chest. And today he said he did everything the team did, and he said it was a moderate practice, so it doesn't sound like they did nothing. And I would imagine that with multiple days off this week, that at least some of these, you know, at least they did something substantive, even if it wasn't like full contact 5-on-5. I would imagine they did something that is a good indicator that he's kind of moving in the right direction, and still has a few days until game one of the finals.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting how they integrate him in. Joe's approach has been, it'll be normal, and certainly he's not involved in the medical process and what kind of minute limitation there'll be once he is out there on the floor for the finals. Of course, we mentioned yesterday Dr. Flynn, who we talked to on the podcast, said it's inevitable that he's going to be less than 100% at this stage in the recovery this many weeks in. So that's going to be a challenge. Obviously, Derek White talked today about how he just brings a different dynamic. So maybe you go to a look over a short spurt in a certain matchup in this series. Maybe you go to a double big look for stretches, because that's really the only combination of double bigs that you're going to want to go to for any significant amount of time in this series. Or you just have him in a bench role, potentially, if he is only able to play a certain amount of minutes here. But as you said, it feels like we're going to see some form of Porzingis here. It's just going to be how close is he to 100%, and how much do you see of him?
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought what Derek White said was particularly telling around just his defensive impact as a guard who, you know, knows who's behind him. He said it's not even just about his blocked shots. A lot of times it's about his, you know, the shots that he's preventing people from taking, and that deterrence, I think, is something that is just across the board, maybe understated in discourse around NBA defenders. And I think certainly with him, you know, he has that length. I think Anthony Edwards is on record of saying, like a couple years back, that Porzingis is like the one guy that he doesn't want to go at the rim. I think a lot of people feel that way, and they haven't had someone like that. And so even if he's just out there, as long as he's mobile and he's not like, I mean, if he goes out there and it's like an OG and Anunoby situation where it's just clearly he, you know, it was too soon, he was not ready, then that's one thing. But assuming that he clears all the hurdles and he's actually able to provide them real minutes, I think he'll be able to make a positive impact, at least defensively, and at least kind of stretching the floor, hitting some open threes, not just because he's a, you know, slightly better shooter than Al, I would say, but also actually I don't know if that's true, but he can definitely stretch the floor and shoot from a lot farther out. Yeah, more gravity, can shoot from farther out. I think just, you know, his length, all that, you know, just makes the defenses have to adjust. So he just brings another dynamic. Yeah,
and they're going to need it against a team that, it sounded like Joe again today said they're going to drop. They're going to try to live with some of those mid-rangers against Dallas and take away the things that are most important. And obviously, Porzingis plays a pretty large role in that defensive scheme that's worked for the Celtics throughout these playoffs. You can hear more from Joe, that update, as well as the highlights of what we saw from Porzingis yesterday when we were here, him shooting around the three-point line, doing some light jogging over on Celtics All Access, those interviews on CLNS Media, and we, of course, are brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS to get a 100% deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. So go over there and check that out. 2 players in these finals is all you need to get a daily fantasy sports team going. Just pick more or less on their projections and you're off. It's that easy over at Prize Picks. Again, use that code CLNS. And for tickets to the game, keep an eye on them. Make sure you have that Game Time app download, and when you find the right deal, it could be right up until Game Time Thursday, as you know, I'm sure this Porzingis availability decision will probably go here, or right after game time. You could get your best deal at that point, and if you use our code CLNS, you'll get a $20 discount on your first purchase over there. Of course, terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. She's Noa Dalzell. I'm Bobby Manning. Stay tuned for our next conversation here as we go a little deeper on Jason Tatum in these finals and him matching up against Luka Doncic as the two stars of this series. We heard from Tatum today as well, so we'll get into that. Check out that video now. And for Noa Dalzell, Bobby Manning, this has been a practice edition of the Garden Report. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.